Welcome to Historically Speaking. I'm Jim Davidson of the Rutland Historical Society, and I will be your host and presenter of this episode. The Rutland Historical Society website was first established in 2005. Last year, the website committee moved the website to a new platform and built a new organization for the vast amount of material on the website. No material from the original website was lost, and a lot of new material was added. Today's episode will focus on the collections section and the location of material within that section. Other sections will be treated in the future. The collections section contains a number of elements. The first element is a thing called finding aids, but that doesn't really pertain to the website. It's a finding aids for the collections of the Rutland Historical Society. The next section is called the digital bookshelf, and this is a very interesting section. This includes a number of pieces of information, and we're going to take a look at some of those today. The first section of concern with the elements is a section called Documentary History of New Hampshire, New York, and Vermont, the founding states and the early Vermont. The documentary history of New Hampshire includes their 40 volumes of state papers, but the wonderful part is there is an index right here to the New Hampshire state papers, all 40 volumes. And once you find the volume, the page number, you can easily go to it. The documentary of New York is 4 volumes, and you'll find there are table of contents extensive in front of each volume. And the 4th volume is one dealing with the controversy with Vermont. And that includes a number of claims by victims of the activities of the Green Mountain Boys. And the 3rd documentary is the history of Vermont itself. It's pretty well known as Governor and Council, and includes, there are 8 total volumes there. But the early volumes are about the only written material or printed material about early Vermont. The bookshelf includes histories, or Vermont history items. Samuel Williams of Rutland wrote the first history of Vermont in 2 volumes. There are others here, and you can see that those can be viewed, they are searchable, and they can be downloaded. Crockett has a more contemporary 4-volume history about Vermont. This one, called the Rutland County History, was done in the 1880s, and it includes material on every town in Rutland County. It's one that's quite useful. There are a few town histories for some towns, but not all. Military history is another area. The roles of soldiers in the Revolutionary War is a volume of payroll information for all the Vermont people who participated in the Revolutionary War. The next roster that's available is a revised roster of the Vermonters who were serving in the Civil War. There is a element on the Spanish-American War, There are a couple of volumes on World War I. The second one has a roster of who served in World War I. And there will be work done to produce a similar volume for World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War, and so forth. There is one biography. There will be more. This one is the life and character of Lemuel Haynes, West pastor of the West Parish, and a man who was a black man. There are gazetteers. The 1881 Gazetteer by Childs is one that gives us quite a little information about people in all the towns in Rutland County. It's an interesting listing of all of those people in different towns. Don't miss it. Hemingway's Vermont Historical Gazetteer has 5 volumes, but there is an index, and we really recommend that everybody go to the index, which was produced in 1923, well after the original volumes. But all the volumes and the index are available. There is a bibliography, something from the mid-20th century, a bibliography of its history, and there's volume 4 of a New England set for every state, and this includes a number of information. We did not ignore sports. At this time, there's only one book, and it's called The Rivalry. It deals with football between Rutland High School and Mount St. Joseph. And then there are miscellaneous titles, and you could browse through those as time goes on. In addition to this, there are serials, and some of these, most all of these are from the 19th century. You can see the descriptions, the proceedings of the Vermont Historical Society in a couple of volumes, collections of the Vermont Historical Society, and they all have interesting topics, and proceedings of the Rutland County Historical Society, and there are 2 volumes of that material. That will take us back now, and we'll take a look at the collections again. And now we want to look at directories, Rutland directories. The directories of the Rutland Historical Society include a short directory about the village in 1867. The other directories, which begin in 1872 and go up to 1986, these directories are the only complete set of the directories of Rutland that were published, and we're quite proud that we were able to get the last missing piece. A directory was not published every year, sometimes every other year, sometimes there were gaps. I'm going to move to the 1920 directory. 21 was a gap year, and I'd like to click on that, and at the bottom we can see that although there were 4 images there, I like to move to the one-page view, which actually gives us 2 pages. I'd like now to show that these, of course, are a searchable thing, and I'm going to put in a random name. Well, I think I misspelled it. And I'm going to hit return. And the search is on. And at the bottom, as the search completes, you'll see two bubbles. This bubble is about a gentleman, Napoleon Crapo, who's a laborer who lives in 124 Strong's Avenue. That's his house. The other choice is from a street listing where Napoleon Crapo is in a building with other people at this address. I'm going to use this bottom arrow, which moves us through things, and I'm going to move up to page 174, where you can find the West Rutland directory, because that's where he lived. And, no, he doesn't live there, but that's a directory separate from the Rutland City directory. And I can move also up to 192, and this will vary from directory to directory, but it's easy to find your way. And this will take you to a Proctor resident directories. Those little hints in the directories will be quite helpful to you. Now, as we leave the directories, we'll go back to our collections, and we'll move on to a section in the area called genealogy. Now, this was established as a separate section of things that would be particularly of interest to people doing genealogical research. There are a number of elements here that we want to take a look at. One is the fact that there is a Rutland County, Vermont Genealogical Network on Facebook. I'm only going to comment on that, and I'll quickly show you a couple of pieces of information here. There is a set of research tips which you may want to look at. Then there is a Marvel Swan index. These are elements that are not on the website. The names to the index are on the website, but the actual files reside within the Rutland Historical Society, and you can either visit or contact the Society about use of this. Finding aids, we've already addressed that, but there is a set called Genealogy Links, and you will have to take a look through these. There are a number of mostly free links, a couple are fee links, but they give us a great deal of information. From there, we're going to take a look at Municipal Records. Now, Municipal Records include a variety of things. They basically include town and village reports, all the towns, town of Rutland, city of Rutland, Village of Rutland, Village of Proctor, Town of West Rutland. All of these are elements of the municipal records. There are a few other items beyond that, and that includes things like the Rutland real estate appraisals from 1891 to 1978, some information about the separation of the West Rutland and Proctor from the original town of Rutland in 1886. And then there's an entry of corporations and businesses in Rutland between 1849 and 1915. That was some material that was gathered. And then there are a few town of Rutland extracts from an early period showing some information about licensed teachers. We're going back to the collections master again, and we're going to go down and take a look at newspapers. This is a very busy section and probably one of the most important sections that we have. Among these newspapers, there's the Library of Congress, Chronicling America, Digital Historic American Newspapers. I'm going to click on that for a moment because it not only will bring you to a number of Rutland, Vermont newspapers here, and you'll get the same thing if you click on that, but you'll notice that it allows you not only to look at Vermont, but any other state in the United States. It allows you to control the number of years. You can narrow that down to 1 year or 3 or 5. Otherwise, you'll get an awful lot of papers from different stray periods that might not be to your needs. And then there's a search area here to search for whatever. It'll bring you up a digital copy of the whole newspaper with little orange dots where the search terms appear. This is the next most important, is there is a free digital Vermont newspaper for Vermont residents. And it includes now the Daily Herald, the Daily Free Press, which was not in the Chronicling America group, but it is, if you register for this at Vermont.gov, where you'll get the instructions on how to get the free subscription. Vermont residents have free access to newspapers.com, which has a huge amount of Vermont papers available for viewing. Hence, extracts is a series of results from the Rutland newspaper from 1792 to 1835. The Tucker newspaper clippings are a set of 7 volumes. Each volume has a table of contents, and each volume is searchable within. And these are clippings that Morris Tucker gathered over a long period of time. There are some notes from Don Hance's work with the Rutland Herald, and Patty Pickett has newspaper extracts from 1 year, from 1866, 67. There are 3 scrapbooks of clippings from World War II in the 1940s, and one of those includes a West Rutland scrapbook of World War II veterans. There are some miscellaneous pieces, and then the Rutland Voice is a newspaper that was issued monthly during these years. The Rutland Monitor was produced by the striking employees of the Rutland Herald, who were on strike from October to January from October 1980 to January 1981. Tidbits from then and now is an interesting group of items that were published in Sam's Good News from 1999 to 2010, and then there's a section called Rutland Bicentennial Perspectives. And these include items that have no particular time frame. They're just some gatherings of interesting materials. Now, we need to take a look very quickly at the special collections. This includes a number, and we'll let you look through those as now, these special collections include just a whole variety of things, but they needed to have a separate place, and you can certainly look through and see what's available in these special collections. One of those that I find quite interesting, and they're all labeled by category, is the Green Mountain Club's newsletter, Smoke and Blazes, large collection. A number of diaries, letters, journals, fire department and fires, the Nickwacket Station logs when it was a volunteer fire department, the Rutland Halloween Parade and Halloween Parade with Tom Fagan. Those happen to be videos, but they are being put here as a special item. For sports, baseball, we have the early Rutland Royals, and then of course the football that we've mentioned before. Playhouse playbills from an early era. And then finally, of course, in the collections, we have a section called yearbooks. And there are yearbooks from Rutland High School, Proctor High School, West Rutland High School, Mill River, MSJ, and the College of St. Joseph. This is going to conclude our presentation of the actual items on the website. There is a lot of information shared in this program. Visit the website to explore it. PEG TV will also have this show at its on-demand location. Look for Historically Speaking, number 162. It will also be archived on the website in the video section of the Rutland Historical Society website. This is Jim Davidson. I thank you for watching, and I hope to have you visit the collections of the Rutland Historical Society website. There's a lot of riches there, and we of course didn't have time to explore the details of each. Thank you for watching Historically Speaking.